Hello everybody. So today's video is about congratulating Morgan Stanley. I think it's good. I like that they are getting on the HIMSS train. They like HIMSS. I want to make a few commentary about what they say about HIMSS and what they got to say about them. I think they're on point. I also want to say it's okay to be late. They're about 2 years late, I guess, on HIMSS. I myself was something about 6 months late. This was me 2 years ago. This is my avatar. I was using an AI avatar back then. One of the very first, I guess, 3 months into the channel, I was covering HIMSS, and of course, that's not to mean anything. I think I was something like 6 months late on HIMSS. Many people on X were following that stock in the $3 range. So the source, the good information, in my view, the best information on finance you can get is X, is Twitter. But YouTube is probably one of the second best places. It's just that it takes time to make videos, and so it takes a few months for things to get on YouTube. I was late. They were late. They were about 2 years late after me. Keep in mind, this is not about bragging, of course. I was into other stocks too back then that didn't do as well. StoneCo is roughly flat. I mean, it's down like 30% depending on when you look at the video. So not all stocks I cover, of course, do well. But obviously Tesla and MicroStrategy, it's in a different stratosphere now. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. I'm happy they're on board stocks. You win some, you lose some, but when you look at multi-baggers, when you try to go after a 5x, a 10x, a 13x, right? In the case of MicroStrategy, when you try to go after these stocks, well, even if you have, like, say, a 60% batting average, I guess is what they say in baseball or something like that, if you get more than half right, you can really achieve outstanding investment returns, and that's my goal, and it is okay. I'm happy they're on the train. Good for you, Morgan Stanley. What do they tell us? What does Morgan Stanley tells us? Well, they tell us that HIMSS has superb revenue growth. Well, it's correct. It's absolutely correct. So this is from their last shareholder letter, right? The Q3 letter. And if you look, well, there's been an inflection point both in the number of subscribers and especially in the revenue. And that's because the new subscribers who subscribe to those GLP-1s are a little more expensive than your standard ED treatment or hair loss treatment. So we've seen a spike both in subscriber growth and revenue growth. It's an inflection point to the upside. It was growing at about 50 to 60% a year, quarter over quarter revenue growth, year over year over revenue growth. Following quarter over quarter is less obviously, but quarter of last year compared to quarter of this year, it was roughly 50 to 60% roughly, and it's true that we've had an inflection point. Now we're at 77%. You can see it on the chart here. The growth has accelerated during the last quarter, and I'm definitely pleased to see that the market is catching on to the phenomena that HIMSS and hers health is. And of course, you can assess that phenomenon. Just go on the Apple Store and look at the ranking of the HIMSS app in the United States on the Apple Store. It is in the top. It's one of the top apps right now. More than 2 million people have a subscription to treat a minor issue. HIMSS is about treating minor health problems. They don't do the medium stuff. It's not a LifeMD. They don't do the big stuff like your brick and mortar doctor. They just do the highly profitable, very minor health issues, the kind of health issues that doctors like to address, kind of take it easy. You have an easy appointment, kind of cuts your day in half. They go after that easy visit, that easy prescription, that easy refill. That's the business model of HIMSS. They are starting early in the health journey, and they're addressing minor issues, as I like to call them. Hair loss is not a big issue. So anyways, and of course, weight loss is also a minor issue. It's not a big issue, especially if you take it early. It's not a big issue in the grand scheme of things. HIMSS is not trying to cure cancer. That's not what we're trying to do. So that's point number one. That's why they have such high revenue growth. Point number two, it's a scalable platform. And, they point out, Morgan Stanley points out, the gross margin is 80 80-ish%, 80-ish percent. I have it at 79, but anyways, we can call it 80. That's fine. I want to point out that it never dropped back to the 75%. I've been covering this stock for 2 years. They kept guiding. Yeah, we expect it to drop back to 75%. It never reverted back to 75%. The business is profitable. It's sticky. And yes, I agree with you, Morgan Stanley. They talk about this scalable technology. Why is it scalable? Because it's a 2.0 business. It's a digital business. It's not an analog business. It's a website and an app. And in fact, they mostly got started with an app. Now they have a website for people who like that, but most younger people use it through the app. It's a website and an app. It's highly scalable. It's built on the cloud. It scales with the growth of a company. You don't have a server running in the basement or anything like that. And they have 2 large warehouses, pharmacy warehouses, one in Phoenix, one in Ohio. And it's a giant building. And you don't need thousands of pharmacies. This type of business with 2 million customers, you would need maybe 1,000 pharmacies to serve them all. Or you can have giant warehouses a la Amazon and just use the warehouses to serve the customer. And these warehouses are highly scalable. And once they reach some volume in those warehouses, you can do productivity improvements. Expanding the size of the warehouse is not the only way to expand the output of the warehouse. Sometimes you can do productivity improvements, introduce more automation. You can stack the processes, right? That's what Amazon does. The new Amazon warehouses are stacked so high up that really you don't need that large of a warehouse either. There's other ways than to increase the count of warehouses. It's not about increasing the count of warehouses, it's about increasing the processing speed of these warehouses. And the story of automation has been one of just making those warehouses ever more efficient. It's highly scalable. But on the other hand, a physical doctor's office, a family office down the street, that's not scalable. It's not scalable because the doctor has to go there, because the customers have to go there. But of course, it's not designed for the minor health stuff. A physical doctor office can do the bigger things, right? But the same for weight loss clinics. Weight loss clinics, they're not scalable. Urologists, low T offices, we know they're going to get into HRT at some point. All of that's not scalable. You can make the strip mall as redoable, reconfigurable as anything you want. You know what? If you still gotta break the wall, you still gotta break, the building, put a new building in there. You still have the drywall, the signs, the permits, the licenses. You just can't grow as fast. And HIMSS grows very fast because it's operating in the digital world, in the digital space without barriers. So I like HIMSS very much because it grows so fast. It's that type of business that meets the needs of the real world via an online solution in an online way. And I thought the report made some good points. So, if you follow my channel, that I was pretty excited in my last video about the board member from Teva Pharmaceuticals, because they're launching generic liraglutide, right? Saxenda is the commercial name of that. They're going to launch a generic for Saxenda. We're going to call it generic liraglutide. And it's going to be a generic GLP-1. Granted, it's a once daily GLP-1. It's not as good as the latest tirzepatide. It's not as good as that, but it's still a GLP-1. And it's still an injection, and it's still what people want. And so they're going to launch that as a generic, and they hired Teva Pharmaceuticals. So I'm very happy about that. They also have Novo Nordisk executives, so specialists in weight loss. And that's why I think a lot of people place hopes on their inexpensive remote weight loss solutions. But notice that their executives really fit the business. For example, Uber and DoorDash. Why would you have platform execs working at HIMSS? Well, very simple. HIMSS is a matter of matching doctors. The doctors got on the platform. A patient comes from an ED drug. You need a licensed provider to prescribe that ED drug or not prescribe that ED drug, because there's liability involved in all of that. So you gotta grow the providers, the MDs, the nurse practitioners. You have to grow those providers at the same speed at which you grow the customers. And if you read any book on platforms, it's a delicate balance, making sure you got enough customers to occupy enough providers. It's the chicken and the egg problem. You gotta grow them at the same time. It's it's a unique skill, and it makes sense that they would hire Uber and DoorDash executives. And then think about Netflix or Tinder. Why would they hire Netflix or Tinder execs? Well, it's because of AI. It's because both of these apps work on AI and use AI and matching algorithms. And if you know anything about IMS, under the hood, it's all about facilitating the treatment, so facilitating the recommendation of the right treatment for the right person. They are pushing one person, one treatment. They're trying to move away from the 500 milligram of XYZ prescription to the custom prescription. This person needs, 225 milligrams of this and 5 milligrams of that and, 1 gram of this in a custom pill. All of that customization happens at the platform layer, at the HIMSS platform layer, and you need an AI algo to do that. And that's why you would hire a Netflix executive, because that's exactly how Netflix works. It's all about making it more addictive. Same as for Tinder. It's all about making it more addictive, and that's how it works. It shows you what you are more likely to swipe or to click on. And that all makes sense. So I understand why they have all of these executives. And recent growth in subscriber numbers, okay, we're very excited about that. So am I. My guess, or my reason why I'm excited about that is because if you take on a lot of new customers for weight loss, and the customers get used to the HIMSS platform and they like it and they lost some weight, they're gonna earn some trust for the brand. And of course, there's a lot of cross correlation in minor health issues. So, for example, if you need weight loss, well, you may have some ED issues. You may also have some air loss issues. You may also have some heart health issues. Now, not all overweight is due to atherosclerosis, but if it happens to be, then you're going to find that things like ED are also related to the narrowing of the arteries, the narrowing the atherosclerosis, the fat deposits. It's the fat deposits in your blood vessels that cause a lot of issues. And actually, a lot of folks would argue that some air loss has to do with also improper blood flow, and of course, if you need to have weight loss, that means that you may have some blood vessels that are not flowing like they used to, and as a result of that, a medication may be needed for ED or for weight loss. I remember my very early videos I was covering this. The root cause of many of these problems can be treated, and so typically this go hand in hand. And typically, for example, weight loss and ED, there's a strong correlation between those two, and so that's a cross sell. So that increase in subscribers, well, that may lead to an increase in sales, and so you're really addressing more issues. And lastly, and good for you, Morgan Stanley, for noticing. I appreciate that. It's cheap. Well, no kidding, it's cheap. This stock has been dismissed for years, and it is still being entirely dismissed. Look at whenever Amazon about 3 times a year they announce that they're going to disrupt this sector, and so about 3 times a year HIMSS drops 30% on the news that Amazon is going to disrupt them, and the stock just keeps being cheap. There are a few shorts that short the stock, that don't like the stock, that haven't done any digging in the stock, and that's why this stock is cheap. And when I look at HIMSS, it's a 0.12. It's my second cheapest stock in the direct-to-consumer healthcare, or what I call the disruption of traditional health. The disruption of trad health is what I put it in there. It's my second cheapest stock, and frankly, it's one of the highest growth story. At least for one of this, it's the highest growth story. If you look at the revenue growth number, 53% is. I guess I need to update this up, by the way. They're likely going to grow more than that. But that's the highest growth story in the cheap stocks that I follow in this space. Now, all of these stocks were selected for quote-unquote being cheap, or having been cheap at some point. But note on something like a Teladoc or something like a GoodRx is not really that cheap. I like LifeMD, I like HIMSS, and I like Talkspace in this space. I actually own all 3 of them, but HIMSS is the lion's share of my holdings in this space, because it's my 3rd largest position, my biggest position in the DTC healthcare, or disruption of traditional healthcare field. So, in summary, good for you, Morgan Stanley analyst. Welcome to the HIMSS Bulls Club. assuming there is such a club. Welcome. Happy to have you here. Can't wait for the stock to reach 42 as you put in your price target. So anyways, no financial advice, no investment advice, just entertainment. Hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.